Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice. And by the 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center. Blue Jays up against the San Francisco Giants, a short 2-game series. Bruce Bochy, the manager of the reigning world champs. Now it's time for the starting lineups, brought to you by Quaker State Real Durable Oil. San Francisco Giants have the best team batting average in the National League. As a club, they get 266. They're scoring over 4.5 runs a game. Top of the order, Angel Pagan. Marco Scudero, the former Blue Jay, is red hot right now. A 12-game hit streak, hitting nearly 500. 5 doubles and 5 RBIs for the DH tonight. Then Hunter Pence. His career numbers against the Blue Jays are impressive. 346 average. He is in right field. He's got an unorthodox swing, but he's got the knack for being able to get it done. He, too, is swinging a hot bat right now. They are set to take on R.A. Dickey. Dickey will make his 4th career start against the Giants.
And 9th start of the season for Dickey. You can see his numbers right there. 2-5 with a 5.06 earned run average. He has pitched better last time out. Still picked up a no decision. That was against Tampa Bay. 6 innings versus the Rays. 2 earned runs. Still a little wild. He did pick up 5 walks in that game, but the knuckleball seems to be a little bit firmer. He's doing a better job of getting it in the strike zone and keeping it in the strike zone. Looking for his first win since April the 18th. That was against the Chicago White Sox. R.A. Dickey's getting ready.
Dickey talks about having his problems behind him. Emilio Bonifacio makes his first start in left field. Melky Cabrera is the DH. He's battling with some sore hamstrings. Rasmus and Bautista, center and right respectively. Laurie is at third. Meiser is stirred back at shortstop. Mark DeRosa gets another start at second. Edwin Encarnacion is the first baseman. And Henry Blanco is the personal caddy for R.A. Dickey tonight. They team up to try to shut down the Giants.
And Mark DeRosa will get the start at second base. Like you said, Buck, just his 4th start this year at second base. He's made some really nice plays, especially on the road trip when he got a couple of starts at second base, really solidifying the defense when they are facing a left-hander.
So DeRosa's at second. R.A. Dickey is set. He's finished his warm-ups. Angel Pagan, the leadoff man for the Giants, will step in. Pagan is a switch hitter, batting left-handed against Dickey. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. Outside for a ball. Pagan hitting .259 on the season. As a left-handed hitter, he's got a .263 average. There's a strike. We're going to watch for Dickey and see the velocity on that knuckleball, because that's always crucial to his success. Being able to throw a little bit harder, he can keep it on plane. Lined right to Encarnacion, 1 down.
And if you keep it on plane, because he's got some great movement on that ball, it is tough to square up that knuckleball. That time Pagan hit it, but hit it very softly right at the first baseman. You can see the movement right at the end. It's a line drive, but right at Encarnacion.
So the former Blue Jay Marco Scudero, who is the DH tonight, he steps in. I mentioned he has a 12-game hit streak. Scudero, just one of those guys that hits wherever he plays. He's a clutch hitter, guy that always comes up with big hits, and he's done it for the Giants as well.
And he sees a lot of pitches also. He is not afraid to hit with 1 strike or even 2 strikes. This at bat, it looked like he went up there taking the first 2 pitches.
Boy, that's a late moving knuckleball there, and handcuffed Blanco, and Scudero's in the hole. He's got good numbers against his former team, hitting over .330 with a homer and 27 driven in.
It's tough to defend Marco Scudero because he can hit the ball all over the place. We had a chance to watch him when he was a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, and very impressed with his approach at the plate. Never seems to get out of himself. He just stays steady, just right after it, slows everything down.
Hits this in the air. Bonifacio, the left fielder, calls for it. They're 2 down. R.A. Dickey needs to get on a roll. Now, he and Mark Burley are the guys that you look to now for stability, and that's why they were brought in here. They're veterans who will take the ball and hopefully give you that consistent 7-8 innings every start.
And they've had past successes. Mark Burley was outstanding in his last start in Boston. And you're right, it's time for Dickey to get that feel for that knuckleball also.
Misses with that first one to Pablo Sandoval, the switch hitting third baseman. He's off to a terrific start. He's 7th in the National League with that .320 batting average.
He can flat out hit. Do not let the stature, the way he looks, think that he can't swing that bat.
And a good cut at that knuckle. He was the MVP in the World Series. He had 24 hits in the postseason. That's a Giants record for a single postseason. This is hit into the air. Bonifacio again calls for it underneath it. Good inning for R.A. Dickey. He retires the Giants on 12 pitches. Top of the order. Melky Cabrera, the former Giant, got his World Series ring tonight. Jose Bautista, 2 home runs on Sunday. And then Edwin Encarnacion. They've won 5 of their last 8 games, and the offense is starting to come around. Let's take a look at John Gibbons' lineup tonight. Melky Cabrera continues in the leadoff spot. Jose Bautista on the past road trip at .360. Those 2 home runs came on Sunday in Boston, and he is starting to show signs that that early slump is thing of the past. Edwin Encarnacion as well against Barry Zito. He's put up big numbers, 4 for 7 with a couple of home runs, and he's driven in 8 with just 4 hits. So maybe these 2 guys, Bautista and Encarnacion, can get the Blue Jays off to a good start against Barry Zito.
He was off to a great start this year for the San Francisco Giants. 3-1. Look at that earned run average at275. He's allowed 1 or no earned runs in 6 of his 7 starts this year. Just one very poor outing where he gave up 9 earned runs in 2 2/3 at Milwaukee has really hampered him this year. But he is pitching a little bit differently than the Barry Zito we knew in Oakland, but he's still winning.
So Barry Zito is set, and the first man he'll face is his former teammate, Melky Cabrera. Cabrera received his World Series ring before this game in a private mini ceremony, if you will. Bruce Bochy, the manager, presented the ring to him. He didn't want to make a big deal out of it, and that's Melky Cabrera's personality. Barry Zito misses with that first pitch. I spoke to Bochy about the year Cabrera had for the Giants last year. He had 159 hits at the time of his suspension, and he compared it to Tony Gwynn. Bochy played with Tony Gwynn, and he said he had that kind of year. But you want to see what World Series rings look like? That's a pretty impressive image right there.
Something like 80 diamonds put into that, and the players for the Giants were the ones who designed that and asked for that type of ring.
It is so big they can use it at McCovey Cove to anchor some of those boats out there. Man, it's a big ring. Good numbers for Melky over his last 8 games. A home run and 6 RBIs.
He's putting together good at bats. He's hitting the ball back through the middle. He's waiting just a little bit longer He's always had that great short swing at the plate. You mentioned Tony Gwynn. He can spray the ball like Gwynn could to all fields.
Breaking ball hit on the ground. Sandoval wide of third. Wide of first, and Cabrera is headed for second. He's on some gimpy legs, but he's able to get into second base. He's been battling hamstring problems. That's the fourth error committed by Sandoval, and the Blue Jays got a man in scoring position right off the bat.
Pablo Sandoval might have been better off doing a complete 360. You see, he catches the ball, and he just can't get his lower half around enough to be able to close those shoulders up to throw accurately over to first base. It might have been better just to, as his momentum took him towards second, just turn all the way around, and now you've got your shoulder closed. You can make an easier throw, but he's going to be charged with that error, and the Blue Jays are off and running.
So Melky Cabrera's at second. Jose Bautista steps in. Bautista just 1 for 6 against Barry Zito. Bautista showing bunt. You agree with that?
No. I think he was just doing that just to take a pitch right there. The Giants are probably saying, thank you very much. We'll take the bat right out of your hand. I think Jose went up there thinking, I'm going to take a pitch. Why not act like I'm going to bunt? Certainly worked against Sandoval. He is now in on the dirt.
Bautista has been very patient of late, and with that, his numbers have soared. 31 home runs in 112 interleague games, and this is the first interleague game of the season for the Blue Jays.
Well, he's seeing the ball so much better now because he's not thinking about shooting the ball to right field. He is not over-rotating like we talked about in the opening. What that means is they were playing him with shifts, and they were pitching him away. And he would load up on that backside and close that shoulder off and almost lock himself off the ball, and he would lose the ball as it was coming towards home plate. Now he's got him thinking about up the middle. And when you think up the middle, you got both those eyes on that baseball.
All right, another thing, too, this hot streak, he's been taking his walks. He hasn't tried to force the offense. On the past road trip in 7 games, he had 4 walks. He had an on-base percentage over .430. So it's all coincidental with his being more selective.
Yeah, he's always had a great eye at the plate, and he's always been the guy who has passed the baton, if you will. He's not afraid to take his walks.
And he'll pass the baton to Edwin Encarnacion. Zito has runners at first and second, nobody out in the first. Take a look at the outfield defense for the Giants. It's Gregor Blanco, Angel Pagan, and Hunter Pence. And Pence has got a terrific arm in right. Sandoval and Crawford on the left side. Keep your eye on Brandon Crawford. He is a terrific shortstop. Nick Noonan just up from the minor leagues. Brandon Belt, one of the bright stars at first base. And, of course, the former Rookie of the Year and MVP, Buster Posey, behind the plate. We mentioned Encarnacion and his great numbers against Barry Zito. Just 4 for 7, but he's got 2 home runs and driven in 8 against the Giants lefty.
I think he's going to have to wait back tonight. Zito will throw the ball a little bit slower each time and really try and get you out on that front foot.
There's a little flare into right. This is going to drop in front of Hunter Pence. Melky Cabrera is being waved home. Pence has got a good arm, but it's late. The runners advance, second and third. A run in, still nobody out. Encarnacion now has 9 RBIs against Zito.
Like Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion is starting to heat up and drive in runs. It's going to be his 28th RBI of the season. Told you he can wait back long. It looked like a cutter up, and he inside outs that ball to right field. Cabrera, watch Melky at second base. Read the ball, get out there about halfway. And even though he's battling those hamstring problems, because of that insight of watching the ball off the bat, he's able to score.
Encarnacion picks up his 28th RBI of the season. Mark DeRosa hitting cleanup tonight. He's been a productive hitter for the Blue Jays. A .216 average, but he's driven in 12.
I've asked him about Zito. I said, you're pretty familiar with him. He says, I've faced him plenty of times over in the National League. He says he's a little bit different type of pitcher now. He's going to cut that ball a lot. Fastball about 84, 85 miles an hour. He'll spin a little bit of a breaking ball and a changeup.
DeRosa has those 12 RBIs in just 51 at bats. He's going to pick up another one. Base hit to center field. Bautista jogs home, and the ball is bobbled in center by Pagan, and here comes Encarnacion. Mark DeRosa drives in Bautista. Pagan bobbled the ball. Encarnacion will score on his air, and it's 3-0 Jays.
Boy, he certainly does know Barry Zito after all those years in the National League. He weighted back nicely on that breaking ball right there. When you see a guy enough, you could recognize curveball out of his hand. He stays back and golfs that ball right over the head of Encarnacion in center field. Out into center field, Encarnacion had to duck out of the way. Watch him at second base have to duck, but then get up, and he's able to score once Pagan boots it. Blue Jays now up 3-0.
They still haven't ruled on the Pagan play, and they now have ruled an error on the center fielder, so Pagan picks up his second error. 2 errors by the Giants here in the first have contributed to 3 runs, and there's still nobody out. Brett Flory, a base hit to right. DeRosa will stop at second. Keep the line moving.
We saw it on Sunday, that last game in Boston. This team is starting to hit. They're finding holes. They were hitting the ball hard, but they couldn't get the lucky bounce. And right now, they are starting to find a hole. Nice inside-out swing by Laurie as he pokes that ball into right field.
Still nobody out, first and second. Meiser Estouras.
Giants think that Estouras is going to bunt. They've got the corners in, first and third.
No sign of a bunt, and Estouras takes the strike. Well, why would you give him an out yet?
No.
Makes no sense to give him an out right now. Zito hasn't shown that he can get anything by the Blue Jays hitters. On the ground, Crawford to second for 1, and no throw. Nick Noonan couldn't get the ball out of his glove. DeRosa moves to third. Crawford made a good feed. Looked like they had a chance for 2, but Noonan got hung up in his glove and couldn't make the throw to first.
You mentioned Crawford. He's quick, and he's a very good shortstop. Started all but 1 game this year at shortstop. He's got 156 total chances. He's got soft hands and a quick release.
Well, he's got a strong arm, too. So now Colby Rasmus will step in. Runners at the corners. Another opportunity for an RBI for Rasmussen. He's been the Blue Jays' best RBI guy in these situations. He's hit for the best average with runners in scoring position so far this year. Rasmus, 333 average. He's 9 for 27.
I think he got it right when I was talking to him down in Tampa about him trying to shrink the strike zone. Instead of trying to hit everything, wait for something in your spot.
Rasmus has big power. Hit 6 home runs already and chipped in with 5 doubles as well. Breaking ball in there. 1-2 to Rasmus, 1 out. Blue Jays have scored 3 runs on Barry Zito. Pablo Sandoval made an error on the first ground ball of the game off Melky Cabrera's bat. That contributed to the problems. Way outside. Blue Jays have picked up the pace a bit lately with runners in scoring position. It's been a real problem for them all year, but over the last 3 games, they're 7 for 12.
Better approaches at the plate, thinking about middle of the field, I think has helped that.
Rasmus, a base hit to right field. DeRosa comes in to score. So Colby Rasmus continues to hit well with runners in scoring position. He picks up his 16th RBI. It's 4-0 Blue Jays.
Right on cue with the runners in scoring position, Colby Rasmus. Even with 2 strikes, Barry Zito is not fooling the Blue Jays. Watch Rasmus stay right on that pitch. It's about belt high over the middle of the plate. He wanted to get it down and away. Good approach right there by Rasmus. And the Blue Jays keep finding the holes.
Henry Blanco. He goes after the first pitch. Blanco has been the personal catcher for R.A. Dickey in every game but opening day. He's caught him well. They have a history. The two played together in 2010 with the Mets. Hitters have done a good job of forcing Zito to throw it over. Bautista drew a walk. That set the table for Encarnacion, who picked up an RBI. Then DeRosa had an RBI single. Laurie singled to right. And after the Asturias fielder's choice, Rasmus picked up an RBI. Wow. He turned on that one. Off the plate inside.
This is called get out of my kitchen right here. Looked like a cutter on the inner half, and Blanco yanks it way foul.
Nick curveball, and Blanco strikes out. That's the second out of the inning. So the Blue Jays will send 9 men to the plate in the first. Emilio Bonifacio will step to the plate. Bonifacio batting 184, but I think he's deserving more playing time. When you look at the game on Saturday, he went 3 for 4 with his first home run of the season.
Best game of the year, best at bats of the year against the Boston Red Sox on Sunday.
R.A. Dickey sitting on the bench and very relaxed, saying, keep it going, boys. 4 runs is nice. Blue Jays staff hasn't been staked to too many big leads. Cutter inside. Bonifacio has the count in his favor. Blue Jays need to jump all over the Giants quickly and send them out of town. It's a short 2-game series. And they have done that against Barry Zito here in the first. Bonifacio, base hit to center. Round third, here comes Meiser Astores. Rasmus will go first to third, and Bonifacio picks up the RBI. That's his 7th.
Well, right now, Barry Zito is not fooling the Blue Jay batters. They have a game plan in mind at that plate, and I think it's the same game plan that they had against Joe Saunders. Remember, Joe Saunders pitched for Seattle when they busted out. Look for something out over the plate, try and hit it hard, and they all are. That's a good approach right there by Bonifacio. A rocket right back through the middle for another run.
Melky Cabrera, his second at bat in the inning.
And how many times have we said it, Buck, that when a pitcher, a good pitcher, is on the ropes in the first inning, you got to take everything from him that you can get.
And right now, Zito is really struggling. He's given up 5 runs on 5 hits. 2 errors have contributed to his problems, and he's also walked the batter. This is popped up over near the seats. Belt will give it a look, but it's out of play. This is the biggest inning the Blue Jays have had all year. 5 runs in the first. Their previous high, they've scored 4 runs in several different innings. Cabrera base hit to left field. Rasmus jogs in. It's a 6-run inning.
But everything that he's throwing up there, Blue Jays are seeing. That looked like it might have been a changeup right in the hitting plane of Melky Cabrera. Barry Zito's got to figure something out. Watch the bat. Watch it just come right through, and that ball stays right on that swing plane.
Yeah, he's not fooling anybody right now, and it's been totally different tonight than the way Zito has pitched lately.
He's been great. I told you, just one really bad outing.
Bautista really trying to put some icing on the cake with that big swing. Jose walked in his first at bat this inning. Curveball missed. Blue Jays bullpen begins to work. Right-hander Chad Godin. He is loosening up. Chris Bochy was aware the Blue Jays bats had started to heat up a little bit. He was aware of their run in Boston. Bautista hits it to third hard, but Sandoval snares the line drive. The inning is over. It started with a Sandoval error and ends with a line drive. 6 runs in the first, the biggest inning of the year. Everybody made a contribution.
Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome back to Rogers Center. R.A. Dickey has a 6-0 lead as he's set to start the second. It'll be Buster Posey, the catcher, starting things off. Well, what an inning. Blue Jays' biggest inning of the season. 6 runs on 6 hits. First time Barry Zito has given up runs in the first inning this year.
And there weren't too many cheap hits either.
No. How about Jose Bautista? We talked about his bad luck in April. He ends up with a line drive that is caught by the third baseman. There's a strike. It's 2-1 to Buster Posey. Takes one just outside. Full count. Of course, the last thing Dickey wants to do is walk anybody.
Sure.
He had 5 walks in his last outing. Ground ball right to DeRosa. 1 down. Fans, it's time for our BlackBerry Sneak Peek Stat of the Game, brought to you by the new BlackBerry Z10 and Q Pen, built to keep you moving.
And it all has to do with knuckleball velocity for R.A. Dickey. Last year when he won the Cy Young, he averaged 77 miles per hour with that knuckleball. This year, just 75 miles an hour. Now, you might think, well, what's the big deal about 2 miles per hour? He talks about being able to control that hard knuckleball and throw it in the strike zone, just giving the batters less time to react to the pitch. It's already got the great movement on it. If you can give it less time, that's where you're going to find success, and he hasn't been able to do it because he hasn't been able to extend out there and finish his pitches.
Hunter Pence with a 2-0 count. Now 3-0. This is an opportunity for Dickey to really get everything under control and try to really find that release point on his knuckleball. He's got a little room to work. He throws a strike with the fastball.
And you can do that too. You can use your fastball too in a game like today.
And he missed. So Hunter Pence takes the 1-out walk, and Barry Zito, and talking to his catcher Buster Posey, and you can bet Posey is as disappointed with the Zito start to this game as Barry is himself. Posey takes tremendous ownership in a pitcher's performance every time he takes his position. Brandon Belt, the young first baseman, takes one inside, and R.A. Dickey is going to have to find the strike zone quickly here. Now Henry's going to go out and have a chat with him. Henry Blanco, the catcher. And now I'm sure Dickey's just trying to throw strikes with that knuckler, not trying to be too fine. And that's a real challenge for the pitching coach. How do you help a knuckleballer to find that strike zone?
Well, that's why I said, maybe you throw a few more fastballs here. The Giants are down 6-0 early. The last thing they want to do is hit the first pitch and make it out. So maybe you throw a fastball early in the count and see him swing at it.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. Henry Blanco, I'm sure, had that conversation with Dickey. 2-1, Pence at first. Now it's 3-1. Dickey is all about rhythm and timing. He has talked about how important it is to maintain that good rhythm and tempo and try to get a consistent release point. There goes the runner, and it's ball 4. So back-to-back 1-out walks. The perception of the San Francisco Giants is that they're all about pitching and they don't have much offense. Well, that's wrong, this year especially. Club's leading the National League in batting average, scoring over 4.5 runs a game. So Barry Zito has more confidence that his club can get back in this ball game.
Well, they're not going to lay down. They're the world champions for a reason, and even though they're down 6-0 against R.A. Dickey, they're not going to lay down. They're going to put up some good at-bats, and they're very patient this inning as opposed to last inning.
Gregor Blanco, the left fielder. Pretty good knuckler there with late movement.
And it was in the strike zone. I think that's the key for R.A. The knuckleball will take care of itself as long as you keep it in the strike zone.
Dickey comes back and strikes out Blanco. That's the second out of the inning.
That one was pretty nasty. He had this type of knuckleball his last time out. Watch it take a left-hand turn right when it was getting towards home plate, and Blanco comes up empty swinging at it.
I got it. Where did it go? So Nick Noonan, the second baseman. He's just 2 for his last 22. After getting off to a good start in his major league career, he started out 7 for 13, but has cooled off. Ball on the strike. This is just his second start in his last 23 games. So he gets a chance. Marco Scudero's the DH. He's the regular second baseman. He's getting the night off.
They wanted to get him off this turf, didn't they?
Yep. Scudero's had a little history of back problems, so they didn't want him playing both games here.
They still wanted his bat in the lineup, but very productive hitter. Puts up good at bats. So Bruce Bochy wanted him still to stay in the lineup.
3-1. Foul back. It's a full count. Saw Brandon Crawford on deck. Shortstop, the number 9 hitter. So Blanco out from behind home plate, reminding the infielders it's a full count. The runners will be off on the pitch with 2 outs. 6-0 Blue Jays. There go the runners. Popped into the seats.
Fastball. 3-2. Kept it away from Noonan there.
Mary Zito wondering what went wrong in that first. Gave up a 6th spot. Another 3-2 pitch. There's a base hit to right field. Bautista's coming up throwing. Here's Pence. The throw is late. And Pence slides in. Bautista made a good throw, just a bit high. Blanco had to reach up for it and had no play on Hunter Pence.
And he's not going to take anything for granted, Jose Bautista, even though the runners were leaving on the 3-2 2-out pitch. Bautista made this close. Dickey goes to the knuckleball. It's wrapped into right field. Jose charges the ball extremely well. Watch him come up, fire it. Pence should score easily, but Bautista makes it close. If that ball is down and a little bit closer to the dirt, he might have had him.
Yeah, Blanco, if he can stay on the ground, and then he had a chance to make a play on Pence. So number 9 hitter is shortstop Brandon Crawford with runners at the corners. 2 walks in the inning. Ball on the strike. Crawford is 26 years old. He's got a 6-game hit streak. Last year was his first full season in the big leagues. He started 122 games at shortstop.
Can hit a little bit. He's got a little pop. He's got 5 home runs and 8 doubles already this year. Blue Jays playing straight up in the outfield. Not very deep, though, which is a little surprising.
1-2, 2 outs. Off the plate inside. Crawford had a rough go of it defensively last year. In his first 59 games, he committed 12 errors, but after the All-Star break, he tightened it up dramatically. Committed just 6 second-half errors. Strike 3 called. Dickey finally ends the inning. A couple of walks in the inning, but 2 strikeouts. The Giants are on the board. Barry Zito will go back out. It's a 6-1 Blue Jays lead. Dickey gets the strikeout to end the inning. want you to make note of the start time. It begins at 4:37 p.m., so make sure you understand that. Get out of work early, beat the traffic. Come on down to Rogers Center to watch the Blue Jays take on the Tampa Bay Rays. For tickets, call 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com to order your Blue Jays tickets, or you can always stop by most Rogers Plus locations and pick up your Blue Jays tickets.
Happy hour out in center field next Wednesday, huh?
It'll be jam-packed. You can bet on that. Edwin Encarnacion had an RBI single, his first at bat. Ball on the strike. The Blue Jays with that 6-run first inning. Last time they had a 6-run first inning, you got to go all the way back to August 16, 2011. That was in Seattle, and it sparked a 13-7 win for the Jays. Blue Jays at this point, with a 15-24 record, got to keep their foot on the pedal.
Yeah, they can't be thinking about June or July or the Yankees this weekend. They have to think about today. And I think if they just keep, like you said, put the pedal to the metal, just get the 500, then anything can happen.
And Encarnacion will take a walk. That's the second walk issued by Barry Zito.
Talking to Paul Beeston last night, president of the Blue Jays, and he told me, he said, we have to win weeks. Just like this last week, they had a winning record for the week when they went to Tampa Bay and to Boston. And hey, you go 5-2, 6-1, put those back to back, and you're right back in it.
Yeah, and the biggest thing too is to try to gain ground every week. Just chip away. Mark DeRosa picked up his 13th RBI in his first at bat. DeRosa's done a very good job of filling in when needed. He is hitting in the cleanup spot tonight, playing at second base. Barry Zito was the 2002 Cy Young Award winner in the American League, pitching for Oakland. He turned 35 yesterday. Had his birthday up here in Toronto. But as a member of the Oakland A's, he was 102-63, and he was nasty. Threw a lot harder than he's throwing now. Could pitch inside with the best of them.
Great curveball, and he could pitch in the upper parts of the strike zone. Part of the big three out there at Oakland.
When you look back at his career with Oakland, 2000 through 2006, ERA at 3.55. We talked about the win-loss record. And then he signed a 7-year contract with the Giants, went across the bay to play with San Francisco. And it wasn't quite as good when he got started. Brandon Crawford is short, second for one, back to first. What a double play. We mentioned Brandon Crawford is a terrific defensive shortstop, and he shows you right there what he can do with the glove.
You know what was impressive about that whole thing? Yeah, he dove for the ball and came up with it, made a nice play, but the feed, how quickly he got rid of the ball and how accurate it was to the second baseman. Right there. There's the key right there. Give him a good throw, and you got a chance to turn a double play. And that's exactly what Crawford does right there, right about shoulder height, right in the middle of the body, where that second baseman can catch the ball and turn the double play.
Noonan did a good job on the turn at second base. 2 down. Brett Laurie singled to right his first time up. Laurie's starting to show signs that he's going to come around with a bat. He hit hard balls all over Fenway Park. Finally had a home run on Sunday afternoon.
Felt like he was a little bit tardy when he wasn't hitting the ball hard, and he says, I just have to get ready to hit. I've got to get my front foot down, and when I do that, everything flows together. He's got a lot of movement in his swing, and Chad Mottola says that's okay. We can live with that right now. A lot of movement in the lower half, a lot of movement with his hands. But if he doesn't get that front foot down ready to swing, that's when he has problems.
He had 3 line drives on Friday night in Boston off John Lester. He had nothing to show for it. Lined out to third baseman, lined out to center, and lined out to Pedroia at second. Pops this one up center field. Center fielder gets underneath it, makes the catch. The inning is over. So the Giants scored a run off R.A. Dickey. It'll be the top of the order. Angel Pagan, Marco Scudero, and Pablo Sandoval when we come back. Hockey Central Playoff Extra, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on The Score. They'll tell you everything you know about the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it's a great opportunity to get up to speed before the night's games begin. So check in with Hockey Central Playoff Extra. R.A. Dickey throws a first pitch strike to leadoff man Angel Pagan. Pagan hit a soft liner to first his first time up. Pagan didn't like that call.
Couldn't believe it. If you look at pitch tracks, he might have an argument. That one looked like it was up and away, and he's still having words with the home plate umpire, Phil Cuzzy.
A little bit harder knuckleball there. That's a good sign. We mentioned Dickey's been plagued by a knot in the middle of his back, between his neck and his shoulder blade, and it's really kept him from extending, throwing that hard knuckleball. There's another good knuckleball. 77 to 79. That's the miles per hour he's looking for.
Yeah, that's what he threw last year. 77 miles an hour. We showed you that on that Blackberry. And you take a couple of ticks off of that, it gives him a little something else to look at, a little bit longer. There's a
strike three call. That's a wicked knuckleball right there. And Pagan's going to have words with the umpire. Nothing wrong with that last pitch, but there was a questionable call earlier. Dickey with the strikeout. That's his third strikeout.
Watch the movement as it goes towards home plate. Right there. It just wiggles right through the strike zone by Dickey. That one looked like it surprised Pagan just a little bit.
Marco Scudero. Slide out to left. His first time up. There's another strike.
That was smart.
Fastball, yeah.
Right there. He knows that Marco Scudero likes to take the first pitch and he likes to work count, so he threw him a fastball first pitch. Why not?
Yeah. Especially in this situation when you've got a 5-run lead. You don't anticipate the Giants swinging at first pitches.
Maybe he pops it up, maybe he grounds out, and he'll be upsets the batter, so throw that fastball in there.
Tom Hallion down at first had no swing. Scudero was able to hold up on that high knuckler. That's a good pitch. Boy, that had a lot of movement to it.
If he continues to throw the ball just like that with that type of movement, you're going to see a lot of the Giants look back at the home plate umpire. Look at that movement right at the end.
There's a base hit up the middle. Scudero extends his hit streak to 13 games. Fans, if you want your baseball questions answered by our team of experts, email asktheexperts@sportsnet.ca and keep your eye out for the home hardware Ask the Expert segment later on in the game. Now Scudero extends his hit streak to 13 games. He hit just .215 in his first 23 games, but boy, he's right on the money now.
Locked in, and it's been over a nice period of time, hitting over .480 over that time. Multiple hit games, too. Look out for Scudero in the multiple hit games.
Third baseman Pablo Sandoval takes a pitch inside. It's 2-0. Sandoval had a throwing error in the first inning that helped the Blue Jays get off to that 6-run outbreak in the first. Sandoval was the MVP in the World Series, and he kind of set the tone with that home run off Verlander.
Didn't he hit 3 in one game?
Wow. Yeah, he had a big series.
Big series for Sandoval.
It's this one high into center field. Colby Erasmus coming in and makes the catch. 2 down.
It's pretty good, the 3-4 that Bruce Bochy can throw up there from the Giants standpoint. Sandoval is a switch hitter. He's going to hit 300, and then, oh yeah, the league's leading hitter right behind him.
What a start to his career. Rookie of the Year, MVP. He's already won a World Series. It's only been 3 guys that have done that. Johnny Bench, Thurman Munson, and Buster Posey. Early on, Rookie of the Year. 3 catchers, and they're incredible in their accomplishments early on in their career. Posey is also the first player to win a batting title, the MVP, and a World Series in one season since Frank Robinson did it in 1966 with the Orioles. Pretty special player.
That's heady right there.
Big cut in the knuckler, and he missed. All right, Dickey looks like he's getting the feel of that knuckleball. Another strikeout, 2 more strikeouts in the third. He gives up a single to Marco Scudero, but he now has 4 Ks. Dickey's starting to get zeroed in. Welcome back to Rogers Center, and that's right, you're looking at the score. It's 6-1. Blue Jays had a 6-run first inning against Barry Zito. R.A. Dickey gave up a run in the second, walked a couple of batters, and then gave up an RBI single to Nick Noonan, the second baseman, but he bounced back with a 2-strikeout third inning. Now the Blue Jays are set to face Zito here in the bottom of the third. Izturis, Rasmussen, Blanco for the Jays.
No time to pull back, and I think that's the thing that was impressive on Sunday by the Blue Jays against the Boston Red Sox. They got out to a lead and they kept the pressure on Boston, scoring 12 runs.
Scored in 5 straight innings from the second to the 6th.
4 in the 6th, 2 more in the 9th to really blow it wide open. And I think they need to do the same thing here. No sense sitting back and just hoping Dickey does the rest of the thing. You got to keep hitting right here.
0-2. Izturis bounces it to third. Sandoval got a big hop. This one's right on the money. 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. We saw Matt Moore last week. He beat the Blue Jays to pick up his 6th win, but he was very, very hittable, and he made a lot of mistakes, and the Blue Jays couldn't capitalize on it.
Threw hard, but he didn't have that command.
No.
That I thought that he would have to take the next step, and he's still winning.
But he is young, 22. Kobe Erasmus. RBI singled his first time up, his average at 237. Ramon Ortiz will start tomorrow night in place of Brandon Morrow, who has been scratched from that start. That curveball from Zito. He's ahead 1-2. Morrow has been bothered by a neck problem, and he threw in Boston and thought he was going to be okay, but today they made the announcement he was not going to make the start tomorrow.
He threw off the mound on Sunday in Boston. He's going to throw off the mound tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and then have 2 days off. Check that. He's going to throw on Thursday. No, I'm all messed up.
Brandon Crawford won't have a play. Rasmus with his 2nd hit of the night.
He is going to throw tomorrow, have 2 days off, and then throw on Saturday. And John Gibbons thinks that he's going to be fine to make that start in New York. Hey, hit them where they're not right here. Looked like one of those cutters from Zito. He hits it to the right of Crawford, comes up with it. That would have been an interesting if he could have come up with it and made the transfer.
Couldn't find the handle. John Gibbons will join us from the dugout after this half inning. Get his thoughts about this game so far. Henry Blanco struck out in his only at bat. Takes one inside. Well, Erasmus isn't going anywhere. Zito trying to break the monotony, just went to first.
1-0 count. He's thinking maybe they'll play hit and run. Zito doesn't have a great move over to first base. He was very average for a left-hander.
That's a strike. Ball on a strike. Henry Blanco began his career in the Dodgers system, and he started out as a third baseman. And by all accounts, he was a terrific fielding third baseman. Just couldn't hit. There's a ground ball. This should be 2. Crawford, Noonan back to first. Double play. Kobe Erasmus did everything he could to try to break it up, but the Giants are out of the third. R.A. Dickey with a 6-1 lead. And John, I guess you kind of saw this coming, the outbreak of the offense over the last couple of days in Boston.
Yeah, Buck, we've lately we've really been swinging it well. We really have. Zito, I mean, he's kind of reinvented himself. He's a different style of pitcher than he used to be, but he's been very effective. And, we came out swinging the bats, some good at-bats in that first inning. So, we'd like to keep that going. You don't want to let the guy like this hang around. A lot of times you see in this business, you score a lot early, and then it kind of dries up. So we need to put some more pressure on him and maybe score a few more runs.
Gibby, it looks like R.A. Dickey's got his knuckleball working today. What are you seeing from the dugout tonight?
Well, Pat, that thing's really dancing, that's for sure. And so he's actually throwing a lot more fastballs to get some strikes in there. He's battling that crack in one of his nails too. That showed up again. So, but he's fine, and we just need to get him, get some good innings out of him here. But that thing it's dancing everywhere.
Did he crack that nail warming up tonight?
I'm not sure whether it was at or maybe in the first inning, but he says it's fine. But I guess that's one of those things that. He has to battle through, or either that or drink more milk or something.
All right. Thanks, Gibby.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hunter Pence against R.A. Dickey. There's that first pitch. That's interesting and great information from John Gibbons about the fingernail. And that's one thing you factor in. And R.A. Dickey has to rely on that fingernail. This is popped up. Blanco back near the screen. Gets there, and it's on the opposite side of the screen. Dickey had a similar problem with that fingernail against Boston back on the 7th of April. Tried to sneak by with some fastballs, and it didn't work. That's the game where Will Middlebrooks hit 3 home runs in that ball game, and Dickey, he's a knuckleball pitcher, and it's hard to go out there when you can't throw your knuckleball.
And that's the last finger that feels that ball when you release it. And battling that, you can see why he hasn't been in the strike zone with regularity then. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's really a misnomer, the knuckleball. It's actually thrown on the fingertips. You just try to release that ball without imparting too much spin on it. You don't want any rotation on it. Just allow the flat surfaces of that baseball to create movement. That's ripped, but right to the third baseman.
Well, you fall behind. You heard John Gibbons say it. He's going to have to throw more fastballs, and that's what this is. 3-1 fastball, and he hits it right at Brett Lord.
How might word spread through the Giants dugout about that? Would the hitters go back and say, hey, you know what? He's trying to use his fastball more?
Yeah, I think they could see that he's having trouble commanding that knuckleball. So they'll go around very quickly and say, hey, he might throw you a 3-1 fastball. Be ready to get on it.
One thing that the Blue Jays need to be aware of is Brandon Belt takes his ball outside. The Giants have 11 comeback wins this year. Only Baltimore, Kansas City, and Minnesota have more come from behind wins than the San Francisco Giants.
They know how to win. I mean, the world's champs. They've actually outscored the Blue Jays by 20 runs coming into this series. We talk about the Blue Jays and all the home runs that they hit. The Giants have scored more runs than them. They know how to win, and they can hit in the clutch too. Yeah,
and their ballpark is not tailor-made for home runs. They've got to hit doubles and extra base hits and run the bases well. And Belt hits that one right off his belt buckle.
Good one.
We're talking about the Giants, and you look at where they rank. They're first in average, 4th in runs per game, 3rd in doubles. All good numbers in all important categories. Look at their risk. They're 2nd in batting with runners in scoring position.
2nd to the Cardinals. Cardinals hitting the best in the National League with runners in scoring position.
Bruce Bochy is a 2-time National League Manager of the Year. This is his 19th season as manager. The ball is hit high and deep to right. Bautista looking up. Brandon Belt, home run. For Belt, that's his 5th home run. It comes with 1 out here in the 4th.
He went down and got that one. Low ball hitting right there by Brandon Belt. Looked like it might have been a knuckleball. 2-2 count. It looked like Dickey Was reaching back for a little something extra on his knuckleball. Nope. Sinker.
Yeah, he tried to get that ball down and away, and Belt hammered it for his 5th home run. That's the 9th home run that Dickey has allowed.
Boy, John Gibbons was all over that one. Looked like it was harder and it was down, but it was one of those sinkers.
There's a base hit past DeRosa into right for Gregor Blanco. And Gibbons mentioned you don't want to sit back on this giant ball club and let Zito get into a groove. That's Ron Wotus, the bench coach, talking with Zito. Wotus is a longtime Giant. He's been in the organization 25 years and been a big league coach for the last 15 seasons. Ground ball, could be 2. Historis to DeRosa, back to first, not in time. Nick Noonan hit a ball to shortstop, looked like a double play ball, but Blue Jays couldn't turn it, and that has been a problem for them all season long.
Turning the big double play. And one of the things that the Blue Jays have been working on in the middle of the diamond is getting to the bag a little bit quicker. And right there you can see that throw as DeRosa came to the bag. He just wasn't there, so he's got to catch it on the run, tag the bag, and then throw across his body. There's only one guy in the American League who can do that, and he plays in New York.
Robinson Cano is the best at that. Brandon Crawford struck out looking his first time up. Yeah, Cano throws that one right in the chest of the first baseman, full stride. Doesn't even stop.
I think Esturas could have waited just a half a second longer and let DeRosa get to the bag so he can get his feet underneath him to turn that double play. He had time.
Ari Dickey quickly ahead, 0-2, 2 outs. Crawford got a piece of that knuckler. That ball is swung on and missed. It goes off the catcher up the first baseline, and Crawford will strike out for a second time. I think Blanco got glove on that. It went off his shin guard, and Dickey picks up his 5th strikeout of the night. Number 9 hitter Emilio Bonifacio has an RBI already. Back to the top of the order, Melky Cabrera has been on base twice. Jose Bautista has scored already. Day is presented by Allstate. Tuesday, May 28th, when the Blue Jays take on the Atlanta Braves. The game starts at 12:37 p.m. The first 25,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays team baseball card set. Call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations. Tuesday, May 28th. It's a 12:37 start. Make sure you call, get your tickets today. The Atlanta Braves in town, part of the interleague schedule this summer. Emilio Bonifacio had an RBI single to center his first time up. Pulls back from a pitch up and in. Spoke to Bruce Bochy about Bonifacio. I said, what did you think of Emilio Bonifacio when he was in the National League? He said, I loved him. I was trying to get him for the Giants. This is popped into the air. Hunter Pence has a beat on it. Bonifacio had a big day Sunday, including his first home run for the Blue Jays.
You know, he got it ready. He started pulling the ball. That's what was impressive about his at-bat. His at-bats on Sunday, that was a high breaking ball right there, and he got the head out. You know, you talk about Bochy talking about Bonifacio. That's two National League managers now that we have talked to who love this guy.
And they both won the World Series. Charlie Manuel of the Phillies and Bruce Bochy of the Giants. Bochy actually took Bonifacio on an all-star team to Taiwan and said he was terrific. So hopefully he'll get a chance to play a little bit more and get into that groove that he's had in the National League in the past. Melky Cabrera's off to a good start tonight. He reached on an error in the first and came in to score, and then later on in that same inning he had an RBI single. Breaking ball. One thing John Gibbons mentioned to us during his interview from the dugout was you don't want to sit back on Barry Zito and let him get into a groove. He mentioned the Giants and their comeback ability.
Yeah. They're going to make you earn all 27 outs, so you just got to keep the pressure on them.
Coming in this game, the Giants had 23 wins. 11 of those were comeback wins.
They're still putting up good at-bats. They had a chance last inning with a single by Rasmus, but the double play wiped that out. They are putting up good at-bats against Barry Zito tonight.
Melky Cabrera putting on a little show for his former team. He is 2 for 3, been on base all 3 times he's faced Barry Zito.
He looks different than the Melky Cabrera we saw at the beginning of the year. He's using the whole field from foul line to foul line. He can hit the ball that time, lets it travel, and he's able to get on top of that cut fastball up and away and keep it fair to right field. Told you he's going to have an MRI tomorrow to check out his hamstrings to see how he is.
Jose Bautista takes a strike. Bautista walked and lined out.
He is right on top of the plate, almost daring Barry Zito to throw inside.
Base hit to right. Bautista continues to hit well in the month of May. First and second, one out.
You know, if Jose Bautista hits the ball to right field, it's really not by design. He was trying to do that, and I think that's what really messed him up. You can see just pick the leg up, and if it's a ball away, he'll hit it the other way. That's an accident. But a good piece of hitting by Bautista. His game is driving the ball out of the ballpark. You can see he might have caught that one off the end a little bit, and he's got some buzz in that finger.
Yeah, he'll take that buzz for another hit. His average up to 250 now. The Blue Jays have cashed in. They've got runners at first and second. In the last 3 games, including tonight, they are 10 for 17 with runners in scoring position. Already tonight, they are 5 for 8. Opportunity to get back those 2 runs that the Giants have scored. Edwin Encarnacion.
You know, and I think offensively, to show that there's more to your team than just hitting the ball out of the ballpark. There are some good hitters here. They're just starting to show it. Bonifacio, Cabrera. Rasmus is starting to heat up. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
Popped into the seats. Blue Jays hit 5 home runs on Sunday, including this monster home run by Edwin Encarnacion.
He's starting to be like Jose Bautista, where he is good for at least 1 home run every series in Fenway Park.
Ball on the strike. Pops this one up. Shallow left field. Gregor Blanco takes charge and makes the catch. He just got underneath that one.
That might have been the highest pop-up that I've seen this year by Encarnacion. He just missed that pitch. He wasn't fooled by Barry Zito. He just missed it.
So now the cleanup man, Mark DeRosa, drove in a run in his first at-bat. Has also grounded into a double play. After this half inning, Shai Davidi will join us, the baseball insider of Sportsnet. He's going to talk about the minor leaguers. Bring us up to speed on everything that's going on in Blue Jays minor league system. Talk about some hot players and some of the top prospects in the Blue Jays organization. So make sure you come back after this half inning and join us with Shai Davidi. Mark DeRosa rips it to left, and Blanco gets over there. Gregor Blanco made a nice running catch. Might have had some problems with the lights, but the inning is over. We'll go to the 5th. Now it's time for a Blue Jay Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. Farm system. If you look at some of the hitters that are doing well, Jim Negrich at Buffalo has got a .417 average. Josh Tolley, the catcher at AAA, .352 average, and Aaron Sanchez, top pitching prospect in the organization. He's made 8 starts in A-ball, and he has held the opponents to a .164 average. And now we're bringing in our baseball insider, Shai Davidi, who is up to speed on the minor league. Shai, tell us first and foremost about Negrich at Buffalo and what he is doing and about the prospects that he might present for the Blue Jays.
Well, Negrich has certainly been the best hitter in the organization. You look at his OPS, it's over 1,000 to this point, batting .417, doing a terrific job. The question is there going to be an opportunity for him here? And there might be, depending on how the Blue Jays want to configure their roster. If Melky Cabrera, he's getting some MRIs tomorrow, depending how those turn out. If a DL stint is in order, maybe that creates an opportunity if they want to juggle some things around on the roster. But right now, his places in Buffalo is Colin Carter's his bat. Not a terrific defender, average at best, but he's waiting for a spot.
We saw a shot of Josh Tolley there, and he's having a good offensive season down in Buffalo. Any chance that we might see him here, or will it take an injury to get him here?
I think at this point it's going to take an injury to get him. I mean, Blue Jays very much like the Henry Blanco, R.A. Dickey pairing. They also like the presence that Blanco brings to the clubhouse, kind of like that Mark DeRosa role. The two of them together really have a strong presence in the clubhouse, and that's a lot of the value that the Blue Jays see in Blanco right now.
Yeah, Blanco's done a good job in both of those categories. Anthony Gose not hitting like we had hoped, but he's still being able to utilize that great speed.
Yeah, he has, and he had a steal of home last week, which really set a lot of people buzzing, and it wasn't even close. He was just right under the pitch. He was halfway to home by the time Jake Arrieta started his windup. There you see it there. But the same point, you know, he hasn't been very consistent at the plate. The approach has been good, but the Ks are up. He's not really locking in on the breaking ball, which is one of the issues that has been there for him.
Do you think that has something to do with him changing leagues? First of all, International League is not the PCL. That's a great offensive league. Or is it more where Anthony's trying to force a hand, trying to show the Blue Jays, hey, I want to get off to a good start, maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on himself?
Sure, it certainly could be that. I mean, the guy was here last year. He obviously wants to get back here as soon as possible. But by the same token, you know, he's been traditionally a slow starter, and he actually didn't have a bad April, but he's been slowing down a bit more of late. So, you know, it's one of those things where he certainly hasn't locked into the hitter that he has to be at and hasn't addressed all the issues that he has to work on.
Is he option one for Alex Anthopoulos in case an outfielder goes down now with Rajai Davis on the DL?
I'm not sure. I think it actually might be Moises Sierra, because Sierra's been a little bit more consistent. He's been playing free of some of the bonehead things we saw him do last year so far, and been pretty consistent on that front.
Angel Pagan strikes out for Dickey. That's 6 strikeouts now. Let's talk about Double-A. You talk about the prospects that might make a contribution to the Blue Jays. Who at Double-A might be that guy?
Well, right now, Sean Nolan, who just came off the disabled list and made 2 starts. Alex Anthopoulos actually saw him make his first start off the DL, which wasn't so hot. He had a very good outing on Saturday, I believe it was, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts. And he's shaping up as the guy who's going to be the next starter called up if they have a need. Now, Ramon Ortiz and Chad Jenkins are both kind of start in their status right now. So if one of those 2 guys falters, it may very well open the door for Sean Nolan, who is a bit of a J Happ type. He has, you know, sits, you know, 88, 90, that kind of range, but he has a bit more upside. He can go get 90, 93, 94, 95 at times. And the Blue Jays are very excited about him and think he's got a chance to be a contributor for them this year.
Another guy at Double-A soon will be Marcus Stroman, who is active on the 19th. He's over his suspension.
That's right, and the expectation is that he's going to start at Double-A, and there's some talk that he may get 1 or 2 outings with the Single-A Dunedin team, but it looks like he's going to head right to New Hampshire. And the Blue Jays right now want to keep him as a starter. There's been a lot of talk about him being a reliever, and the Blue Jays would like where he's at as a starter. They see some potential there. He's holding his velocity, and they'd like to maintain him in that role and see where that goes.
Yeah, and obviously it's easier to find a reliever than it is a starter, and if he can fill that role, he's got 3 pretty good pitches. How about Aaron Sanchez? Is there a prospect of him possibly moving up?
There's been some debate when's the right time for him to move up to Double-A. Do you bump him up now? Do you let him just get a good, solid run in at Single-A Dunedin before you push him? Because the temptation is once a guy gets to Double-A, that can be a jumping off point to the big leagues.
Pablo Sandoval hits a high fly ball into center, and Rasmus makes the catch. That's 2 outs. So with Sanchez, and this is a debate Pat and I have all the time, I mean, he's dominating hitters in A-ball.
Right.
Why not push him and allow him to struggle a bit in Double-A where he can make the adjustments?
That's certainly a good point, and the Blue Jays have been, especially with their pitchers, very reluctant to push them forward. They want to take their time. They want to have them go step by step so that they're built up in a very deliberate, careful manner. They're very, I don't want to say paranoid, but very ultra cautious and conservative with building up the young arms. They don't want to put too many innings on the young man.
Buster Posey with a big swing and a miss.
And they don't see him jumping up into the big leagues for a couple years yet, so why rush it now?
Well, they did it with those, and they do it with the young kids their first couple of years in the organization. They piggyback him with some of the other guys. They really watch their innings. They really watch their pitch count. And it's all off the table this year, right?
Yeah, at this point, he's not being piggybacked at all.
Well, Shy, can you stay another half inning?
Absolutely.
Ari Dickey with 2 more strikeouts, and we'll come back. Laurie Isturis and Rasmus. The San Francisco Giants, and we are pleased to be joined by Shai Davidi in the broadcast booth. And we've been talking about the minor league prospects. There's one guy that's a former #1 pick we'd like to check in on. How about Deck McGuire at Double-A?
Well, he's been making some progress. He's still quite not where he needs to be, and there were a lot of hope that Deck McGuire could be a guy who could run through the system pretty quickly. Some of the comparisons I heard of him when he was drafted was this guy has the potential to be a John Lackey type. Hasn't come together for him so far, but of late, velocity has been better. He's been pitching deeper in the games, but it hasn't come on a consistent basis for him yet. The Blue Jays need to see some results, and he's been passed by some guys like Sean Nolan and Chad Jenkins in the farm system.
Is there a chance that we will see him this year? What kind of things does he need to do?
Basically, he needs to start putting up consistent results. And I've heard some things about him in games where he can sometimes lose his focus a little bit, maybe start thinking about things too much, and then, the stuff that gets in the way of the stuff. So what the Blue Jays want to see from him are consistent quality starts, and that he's able to put together a wide range of outings on a consistent basis.
Obviously, they think he has the talent, but if he can't stay focused in Double-A, that's a big concern. Let's go down to talk about A.J. Jimenez. He's the fine catching prospect that's just now joined Dunedin.
Right, and he had Tommy John surgery last year. He came back, played 5 games, and then he had some more pain in his elbow. I believe it's a nerve irritation. He played yesterday. They're not certain where that's going to go with the nerve irritation, if that's going to be a big problem for him or not. They're trying to figure that out, and that's a bit of a blow because he's one of the better catching prospects, especially with being thinned out, having traded Travis d'Arnaud. He's a guy who gets a lot of props for his defense, and the Blue Jays would certainly love to have him moving his way up the system.
And he's not the only catching prospect the Blue Jays have in the A-ball, right?
Right. Down in Lansing, there's Santiago Nessie, another guy who they're really, really high, and they think he's going to hit and defend, but he's recovering from a concussion. Last I heard, he was in Florida. He's getting closer, but no set date for a return on him yet.
What about the other prospects in the A-ball, the Midwest League?
Well, we can start with Daniel Norris, who had probably his best outing as a pro yesterday. He went 4 innings, 4 shutout innings, had 5 strikeouts. And for him, it's been a matter of kind of locking into a delivery. He keeps coming in and out. The mechanics are inconsistent, therefore the results are inconsistent. Apparently yesterday, he was pretty firm and consistent in his delivery and was able to get some good results out of it.
Still walked a couple of guys. That's
Sure.
normal for young kids and low A ball. Any other pitching prospects or everyday prospects
Well,
down there?
there's Roberto Osuna, who has been really one of the guys who's been charging up the farm system. 18-year-old. He's out with some elbow issues right now. The thinking is that he may very well need Tommy John. They're hoping to avoid that at this point. He's in a period of rest. They're going to try to build him back up afterwards and see if that rest and rehab allows him to avoid the surgery, but chances are he's probably going to need the procedure.
Why wouldn't they go ahead and get Tommy John surgery right now?
Well, if you can avoid it, then you'd like to. I know there's a school of thought. It's just, get it done, have him start the recovery, move him back. He doesn't miss any time into next season. At this point, the Blue Jays want to see that process through.
Meiser Sturs hits it off the glove of Gregor Blanco in left. Sturs is headed for second with the double. For Sturs, that's his 5th double of the season. It comes with 1 out here in the 5th.
Giant outfielders play very shallow against Meiser Stures. And it might have cost him right here. Breaking ball down, and he just drops the head of the bat on that ball and let the barrel get out in front. Blanco goes back right off his glove. It's extra bases, and now the Blue Jays have a chance to break through against Zito.
Did a nice job of waiting on that breaking ball. Just tipped off the glove of Blanco. How about the big #1 pick, the 6'8" lefty, Matt Smorl? Where is he and what's his status?
He's still in extended spring, like a lot of the guys are, being slowly built up for the start of the short season A-ball teams in Vancouver, Bluefield, and the Gulf Coast League in Dunedin. And the thinking right now for him is that he's going to start in the Gulf Coast League. The Blue Jays are very excited about him. Big left-hander who can get into the mid-90s, maybe perhaps even touch the high 90s as he gets stronger, because he's still just a young man. So they're still figuring out, sorting through those things, but he's one of the guys who's really catching a lot of attention just because of the imposing figure that he cuts and the stuff that he's able to deliver out of it.
There's a couple of other athletes, too, that the Blue Jays drafted very high who are in extended spring training.
Sure, DJ Davis and Anthony Alford. And it looks like right now those two guys are going to start in Vancouver.
Boy, Stures, for some reason, took off for third. He was thrown out easily by Buster Posey, and Barry Zito's got to be thrilled about that. Another runner in scoring position. Posey made a strike throw, and that picture right there tells you all you need to know about that stolen base attempt.
Well, it's a wide open window for Buster Posey with the left-handed hitting Colby Rasmus at the plate. He's not real happy about that move.
So Stures is thrown out after the 1-out double, and Gibbons certainly wasn't thrilled about the answer Stures gave him. Whether he got a sign or went on his own, we don't know, obviously. Shai, thank you so much for your information. It was a great piece of information. Appreciate it all the time.
My pleasure.
Well, we are through 5 innings. Barry Zito and the Giants trail by 4. All right, Dickey back for the 6th inning. Dickey has a 6-2 lead over the Giants. Giants have 2 runs on 5 hits. Dickey has recorded 7 strikeouts, to this point. Hunter Pence loses his bat, heads up in the seats. What a nice catch by that fan.
He heard you. He was heads up.
Boy, he stood right up there, and not only did he get a souvenir, but he probably saved somebody from getting hurt. So Pence is going to doctor up a new bat.
How about that? We have seen that a few times over the last week or so. He just loses the grip of the baseball bat, helicopters it into the stands, and look at that. Young man in the red coat catches it on the fly.
Boy, that was great. There's a good knuckler. Now his heart's stopped pounding a little bit. Watch this bat helicoptering in the seats, and no telling where it's going to end up. But that fan did a good job. Got it right by the barrel. Hunter Pence tomahawked that high pitch. It's going to go all the way to the wall. He's headed for second. Rasmus digs it off the wall, and Hunter Pence has his first hit of the night.
You know, he is so unconventional, Hunter Pence. He plays the game and he produces. You don't teach this swing at home, but he just makes it work. Gets on top of that high knuckleball. That ball was around neck high right there, and he's able to hit it on a line to left center field. Good piece of hitting right there, and a good start for the Giants here in the 6th.
Hunter Pence is now 30 years old. He finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2007. Broke in with Houston, and guys that finished ahead of him. How about Ryan Braun and Troy Tulowitzki? So you can be proud of finishing 3rd that year.
Sure.
Brandon Belt's been on base twice. He walked in the 2nd and homered in the 4th. His home run was his 5th of the season. One and two. Brett Cecil, left-hander, starting to crank it up in the Blue Jays bullpen. Don't go to sleep on these Giants, folks.
Run prevention. Last inning, John Gibbons' team ran themselves out of an inning. So run prevention with the Giants defense, and now run producing with their offense. They're not going to go away.
Very curious attempt to steal 3rd by Meister Asturis. And now Brandon Belt has a full count. Asturis had one out double and then broke for 3rd, and Buster Posey gunned him down. Brandon Belt just now getting his feet on the ground in the big leagues. Last year was his first full season. Hit .275 for the Giants with 27 doubles. This time he strikes out. That's 8 strikeouts, 1 down, a man at second. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, Boston looked invincible in April. They look human now in May. And that is a tough place to play down Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is on a roll.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row, and Colby Rasmus knows all about that backdrop and that ceiling at Tampa. He lost one in the roof that turned into a 7-run inning against Mark Burley.
Boston just 2-8 in their last 10 games. They've lost 2 straight, of course, those 2 to the Blue Jays. Gregor Blanco has struck out and singled. As we mentioned in Boston, this AL East is going to be a dogfight. The Yankees tonight got Curtis Granderson back off of the disabled list. At some point, they're going to get Teixeira back, probably Jeter later on. Might even get A-Rod back at some point. But this is going to be a dogfight. Who is going to have a determined effort? Who's going to put up the biggest fight? Baltimore is showing signs, but they lost Wei-In Chin to a big injury.
Yeah, who's going to be tough enough to just fight through all the injuries in the tough league? R.A. Dickey showing his toughness tonight. That's 9 punch-outs now for the right-hander. It's a season high. It's a knuckleball. It's up. That one rolled up there, but Blanco swings right through it. 2 strikeouts in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and now 6th inning. On his way to those 9 strikeouts.
Well, he's had better velocity tonight with that knuckler, and that's the one thing we had talked about. He feels like when he can throw it harder, he can keep it on plane and throw it in the strike zone more often. Nick Noonan, the second baseman, quickly in a hole 0-2.
You know, to me, it looked like in that 2nd inning when he started piling up those punch outs, he was loose. Doesn't look like he's holding back at all tonight. Looks like he's A-OK with that shoulder impingement.
Another strikeout. He strikes out the sign after giving up the leadoff double. We'll go to the bottom of 6. Here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. Grocery bag giveaway will take place Sunday, May 26th when the Blue Jays take on the Orioles. The game starts at 1:07 p.m. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays reusable grocery bag. Call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations. R.A. Dickey with 10 strikeouts completes the 6th inning. John Gibbons comes over and looks like he gave him the congratulatory handshake. Generally, that signals the end of the night for the starter, and you can see all his teammates acknowledging a good start. That's the 9th career 10 strikeout game for R.A. Dickey. His catcher, Henry Blanco, swings at the first pitch.
Blue Jays have to break through now against Zito. They haven't been able to reach him since the 1st inning.
Dickey had a 13 strikeout game last September 27th against the Pirates at Citi Field. Struck out 13 in 7 2/3. That's his career high. He also did that against the Orioles. Blanco makes a bid for a base hit. Nice play by Noonan. He throws him out. Henry Blanco robbed of a base hit by the Giant second baseman, Nick Noonan.
You know, every time the Giants bring a young player up from the farm system, they're baseball players. Here's another one. A good play right here to throw out Blanco. And Brandon Belt's a ball player. Crawford and Sandoval, Gunn. They're just ball players.
Buster Posey came up very quickly and moved right into the everyday lineup. Crawford came up from A-ball at San Jose. Played 14 games in a rehab assignment. They had a knee. They made a call to San Jose and called him up last May 27th. Excuse me, May 27th of 11. Emilio Bonifacio making his first start in left field tonight. He drove in a run in the first inning. Well, the Giants are loaded with talent in the front office and in the minor league system. Brian Sabian is the longest tenured GM in the major leagues. His assistant is Dick Tidrow, longtime major league pitcher, longtime scout. This is popped up. Belt's got some room. He's on the warning track, and Bonifacio is retired. 2 down.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
The Giants have won the World Series in 2 of the last 3 seasons, and Bruce Bochy has 2 World Series titles to his resume. And there have only been 9 managers in baseball that have won more than 2 World Series. 7 of those 9 managers are in the Hall of Fame, and the other 2 aren't eligible yet. Joe Torre and Tony La Russa. Melky Cabrera. He's had a good night against his former team.
And it all starts at the top, doesn't it? In the baseball organization, you've got to get baseball people in there finding those players.
Felipe Alou is a special assistant to the general manager. How about Melky Cabrera? You're going to have to put the Giants on his schedule a little more often. Two-out single for Cabrera. He's got 3 hits tonight. Cream of the crop, 2009 to this year. The Yankees, they've won 1 World Series title, 414 wins. Then the Phillies, the Rangers, the Giants, and the Braves. Giants with 2 World Series wins. The thing that's consistent about that is the leadership. Bruce Bochy's in his 19th season as a major league manager. 2-time manager of the year. And even though he's been the manager of the year twice, I still don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Right. He's a people person type of manager. He'll take the sabermetrics and he'll use it, but he's more on feel and instinct of the game of baseball.
Bautista off the end of the bat. That's a squibber that's going to drop. Melky Cabrera on those gimpy legs is going to go first to third. So Bautista has his 2nd hit of the night. The Blue Jays with 12 hits.
Wasn't hit hard by Bautista, more of an inside-out type of swing, and it's a blooper to right field. With 2 outs, Melky can take off as soon as the ball is hit, then he makes it without a throw to third base. So 1st and 3rd with 2 outs. Bautista with his 2nd hit, and with the dangerous Encarnacion at the plate, Bruce Bochy is to the mound.
So Barry Zito will leave with 2 outs here in the 6th inning. George Cantos, the right-hander, will come on from the Giants bullpen when we come back. broadcast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. The pitcher for the Giants will be the right-hander, George Cantos. He was a fifth-round pick of the Yankees back in 2002. The Giants acquired him from New York for Chris Stewart last year in April at the start of the season.
Heavy sinking fastball and a decent slider. Really likes to challenge hitters and likes to work quickly. Throws a lot of strikes, been unscored upon in 16 of his 20 games this year.
Gets ahead of Edwin Encarnacion with a strike. Blue Jays haven't scored since the first. They scored 6 runs off Barry Zito in the first. Breaking ball missed downstairs. Barry Zito, after that rocky first inning, and we have to point out 2 errors committed by the Giants defensively, contributing to that first inning 6-run breakout inning for the Blue Jays. Encarnacion drives at the right. Hunter Pence misplayed it. It's over his head. Cabrera's in to score. Bautista's being waved around. Now he's been stopped very late by Luis Rivera, but it was the right call. The cutoff man had it as Bautista was rounding third. Encarnacion with his second RBI of the night.
Boy, that ball was hit so hard, it really fooled Hunter Pence in right field. Another pitch that is down and away. You see Posey set up down and away fastball. Encarnacion's all over this one and smokes it to right field, over the glove in right field of Pence. And Bautista had thoughts of scoring. With 2 outs, he's off on the crack of the bat. Luis Rivera did a good job of waiting till the last minute to judge if they could get him home.
Hunter Pence is a very accurate outfielder, and that run will be charged to Barry Zito. And he's still one of the runners on base. Bautista third is Zito's responsibility. So Adam Lind will come off the bench to bat for Mark DeRosa. Lind has been swinging a red-hot bat of late. Two more runners in scoring position. Lind takes a first pitch strike.
You know, John Gibbons in his pregame scrum with the reporters hinted at Lind possibly playing some outfield if Melky Cabrera, if his hamstring problems hold him back and he might have to DH.
Lind takes one outside. Adam had a good road trip. He had 368 on the road trip. He was 7 for 19 with a couple of home runs. Blue Jays need him to hit more consistently to be a big part of this offense. Hits that one off the pitcher. Brandon Crawford tries to barehand it. Bautista scores, and Lind continues to hit line drives all over the ballpark.
Some bad luck right there for Lindy. If that ball heads into center field, he's got himself another RBI. But he hit the pitcher. Watch this one, right back through the middle, and he kicks it over to Crawford. Crawford tries to barehand it, bounces off of his hands in his haste to make the play over at first base. So Lind will get an infield single and an RBI. And high fives from everybody.
Munenori Kawasaki enters the game as the pinch runner. The book on Zito is closed. He'll be charged with 7 runs. Eight runs, excuse me. He'll be charged with all 8 runs. Encarnacion at third, Kawasaki at first. Lowry's behind 0-2. Cantos last year appeared in 44 games with the Giants. He went 2-1 with a good ERA at 2.47. Lowry waits back on the breaking ball and hits it into right. Encarnacion's in to score. Kawasaki is being stopped at third, and the ball gets away from Noonan, but not far enough for Kawasaki to advance. Brett Lawrie with an RBI double.
You know, you could just watch him at the plate, Brett Lawrie, and just see that he's starting to get locked in. In Boston, you mentioned all the line drives off of John Lester and the good at-bats. He homered on Sunday there, and now tonight. How about that, staying right back on that ball and just slicing it to right field? Good piece of hitting by Brett Lawrie.
Not exactly what Bruce Bochy had expected. His ball club finished up a very good homestand at 7-3. Meiser Asturias doubled his last time up. Cabrera, Encarnacion, Bautista really doing the job on the Giants' top of the order.
Scored 6 runs between the three of them tonight.
Two and one to Meiser Asturias. Blue Jays had 20 hits Saturday and Sunday at Fenway. They had 6 hits off Barry Z to win the first. They have now scored 9 runs on 15 hits. 3-1. It's been a long wait for the offense to come around, but boy, since the calendar has flipped to May, the bats have come alive.
Just a matter of time. 15 hits already for the Jays, and good at bats too.
So fly ball to left. Blanco back. He's there and gets the inning is over, but the Blue Jays add 3 runs here in the bottom of the 6th to take a 9-2 lead. Brett Cecil into the ball game in relief of R.A. Dickey. In the top half of the bottom half of the first. Good support. He goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, strikes out 10, and throws 115 pitches. This would be his first win since April 18th, almost a month.
And that last game is the game he had his previous high strikeout game against the White Sox with 7. He blew by that here tonight. Brett Cecil into the ballgame for the 19th time this year. He's got good numbers, 1-0, 270 earned run average. Left-hander hitting just 140 this season against Brett Cecil. I love the strikeout to walk ratio right there. A 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Much better numbers this year for Brett Cecil.
Made 3 appearances on the road trip. For the first pitch strike to Brandon Crawford. Breaking ball, strike 2. Meister Storer started at shortstop. He moves to second base. Mark DeRosa was lifted for the pinch hitter. Munenori Kawasaki ran for that pinch hitter Adam Lind, who singled and drove in a run. Kawasaki's at short. About a 3-pitch strikeout from Cecil. 1 down here, top of the 7th. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. And they're putting one on CC Sabathia. He's given up 9 hits in 6 innings. He's struck out 10, but he trails the King. King Felix. Good pitching matchup there in New York. Felix Hernandez has 8 strikeouts over 5 2/3. Big news for the Yankees. Curtis Granderson started in left field. First game of the season for Granderson.
Remember, we were talking about, okay, when Granderson comes back, who gets out? Who is it tonight for the Yankees?
There's a pop-up, and gone, hitting right-handed. That's a fair ball, and Encarnacion makes the catch. 2 down. Travis Hafner. But Travis Hafner went to the doctor to check out a sore shoulder today. So isn't it funny how things take care of themselves?
You see it every year, don't you?
Yep. Got too many players. Dodgers had that problem with starting pitchers early on.
8.
Yeah, too many pitchers. Now they're scrambling to find 5. 2 outs. Marco Scudero, another big night for him. He's 2 for 3 so far. Brett Cecil is a different pitcher. Pitching with confidence, conviction. He makes up his mind what he wants to do, and then he executes the pitch.
That was a perfect description of how Cecil's season has been going. Confident in this role, aggressive on the mound, throwing strikes, using a good curveball.
There's a good curveball. He threw it in the dirt. But Cecil certainly seems to be comfortable in the role working out of the bullpen. One and two outs. Off the plate inside. Scudero with 2 hits. He now has 15 multi-hit games this season. That moves him into a tie for 3rd with Shin-Soo Choo of Cincinnati. Curveball fouled out of play.
How about 7 in a row now? Multi-hit games for Marco Scudero.
Yeah. Took him a while to get in track this season, but he has found his stroke, and once he gets it, boy, he'll keep it for a while.
Yep. And it's just a simple approach at the plate. Go back through the middle. That multi-hit game now, 7 in a row, ties Scudero with Jeff Kent, Marquise Grissom, and Benji Molina for the most multi-hit games in a row since 2000. Pretty good hitters on that list.
And he stays alive. He is able to string those long hit streaks together because he protects the plate with 2 strikes.
Doesn't strike out a lot. Got a good idea of that strike zone. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
That Cecil strikes it out. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Cecil comes out of the pen and sits down the Giants in order. Middle of the 7th. Jays up 9-2. Chairs in the TD Comfort Zone are fans that received a free seat upgrade courtesy of TD. Great night at the ballpark. Blue Jays with a 9-2 lead, and across the field in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are some very special guests from the Princess Margaret Hospital Foundation. Welcome to the ballpark. We hope you're having a great night here. And the Blue Jays are off to a good start. New center fielder Andres Torres will take over for Angel Pagan. Bruce Bochy is very aware of trying to keep everybody as fresh as possible. Even though it's a 2-game series, he doesn't want some of his banged up players play on this artificial surface. Buster Posey, the catcher, will be the DH tomorrow night. Give him a little break to utilize the DH in this interleague series. Colby Erasmus 2 for 3. Erasmus has raised his batting average 11 points. A little bit different change in his batting stance. You remember last year, more upright, square shoulders, looking at the pitcher. Now he's got a little bit of a bend at the waist.
Hands held higher last year for Rasmus, and it felt like he really had to get it start early. Right now he's got those hands a little bit lower so he can get to the ball a little bit quicker. Improved at bats over the last week or so for Rasmus, just the way he's taking pitches off the plate.
And it's the one thing Chad Mottola wanted for Rasmus was some success. So the adjustments they have made would have an impact. Borderline pitch, he takes it. And Buster Posey is whipping it around the infield. Just in case. Posey lost the count of the strikes.
We got 3 in this league.
Full count. Now it's strike 3, and they'll start to round the horn again. Rasmus strikes out for a second time.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful shot of the skyline of Toronto. Henry Bach with the catcher. Blue Jays have only struck out 3 times tonight. Coming into this game, the San Francisco Giants lead the National League in strikeouts. Their pitchers have struck out 320 batters coming into this game.
Well, Blue Jays catch a break also. They don't face their 3 top pitchers, Bumgarner, Kane, and Lincecum. They get their 4 and 5, and then they're not real hard throwers. Zito and Ryan Vogelsong, who we'll see tomorrow.
Well, they kind of lucked out in this series, but they've dealt with Lester, Buchholz, and Dempster in back-to-back series with the Red Sox. So it all kind of evens out. Tim Lincecum has bounced back a bit. Last couple starts have been pretty good for Lincecum. Emilio Bonifacio up the middle. He's got his second hit of the night. Drive of the game brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V and IIHS Top Safety Pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Our drive of the game tonight is not just one hit, a long home run. It's going to be Melky Cabrera's at bats, and he's had some good at bats tonight. He's been on base 4 times, 3 singles, and he's used the whole field against Barry Zito. Curveball, fastball, and cutter he has hit for base hits tonight. So Melky Cabrera putting it on his former team.
And this is what Bruce Bochy got used to watching last year with Cabrera. We mentioned he had a phenomenal month of May a year ago playing for the Giants. He had 51 hits in May. Cabrera's average now up to 273. That's going to be a base hit. That's going to go off the wall. Bonifacio is being waved around third. Here's the relay throw to the plate. Not in time. Melky Cabrera, a 4-hit night.
Well, that worked out quite nicely for the Blue Jays. They had the right guy at first base. Maybe the fastest guy on this team right now, Bonifacio, and there were 2 outs. He can run on anything. Ball hit so hard by Cabrera. Watch him just turn on this one. I showed you the hits going the other way. Now he's showing you some power. Hits a line drive off the wall in right field. Pence plays it perfectly, gets it back in very quickly, but the right guy was running again. Bonifacio scores easily from first base.
Jose Bautista's had a 2-hit night. Emilio Bonifacio is an exciting player. And with 2 outs, he breezes around the bases.
With that type of speed and that type of hit, you got to be expecting that they're going to send you. The third base coach, they do. Blue Jays now up 10-2.
Got to figure out a way to get Bonifacio in the game every day. He had a slow start, but he's an exciting player. Ball and a strike, 2 outs. Melky Cabrera. Melky Cabrera, as you heard Shai Davidi suggest, he's going to have MRIs tomorrow on his hamstrings, and he's certainly going to be a good candidate after running bases so much tonight. They'll get a good read on that MRI.
If there's anything wrong with it, they'll certainly show up.
Bautista takes a breaking ball for a strike.
But if they're hurting him and he can still play, and chances are we'll see him as the DH. The way he is swinging the bat right now.
Been on base 5 times tonight. Reached on an error in the first and then had an RBI single in the first. The Blue Jays sent 11 men to the plate in that first inning. Off the plate. Blue Jays have set a new high for hits in a ball game at 17. Previous high was 15 games against the Mariners back on the 5th of May. And Bautista will take another walk. Jose's been on base 4 times tonight. A pair of walks and a pair of singles.
Good at bat by Bautista. He would not go after those borderline pitches. Sets it up for his RBI man right behind him.
Dave, we're getting the pitching coach on the horn down to the Giants bullpen. Swinging a drive, deep center field. Torres back. He makes the running catch and then slams into the wall. Andres Torres just into the game defensively. Takes an extra base hit away from Edwin Encarnacion. Torres, good concentration on the warning track. Saves a couple of more runs for the Giants. And against his former team, and his last at bat was a ringing double off the wall in right field.
Well, look at that, a 53. That was his number he wore in San Francisco. A black bat with orange writing. Those are the colors of the Giants. So maybe San Francisco brought something more from Melky, more than the World Series ring for him.
Yeah, you would have thought they might wait until after tomorrow night's game to give him the bats.
Bats that he used last year.
It's his first 4-hit game since May 27th a year ago at Miami. Been on base 5 times. Brad Lincoln's the new pitcher, and he has a 1-1 count on Pablo Sandoval.
There are the numbers for Lincoln in 6 games. Righties hit 200, lefties 214. 7 walks, 7 strikeouts. Needs a little bit better command with that fastball.
This is popped in the air. Bonifacio over toward the line, makes the catch, 1 down. The Sportsnet charity broadcast auction is presented by TD. It's in support of Jays Care Foundation. It all happens tomorrow. You can bid on exclusive Blue Jays experiences and one-of-a-kind memorabilia. You see some of those great trips, a baseball clinic, choose your road trip, clubhouse dinner, broadcast experience. The bidding starts at 6:30 Eastern and closes 10 minutes after the final out of the 7th inning. Buster Posey, first pitch hitting, and hits this one to right. 2 quick outs for Brad Lincoln.
You know what the number 1 thing on that list was right there, don't you?
Of course, the broadcast experience. I expect that to be the highest paid item on that list.
Get to come up here and visit with us and see what we do.
We don't want to let everybody know just what an easy job it is, though. We got to Really act like we're working that night. So Hunter Pence will step in with 2 outs. Pence has walked and doubled. He also lined out to the third baseman. All right, there's a good breaking ball. Late snapper that was in there for a strike.
He spins a great breaking ball, and I think his fastball, 94, 95, really complements that breaking ball when he's throwing it for a strike.
95.
Just got to put it in a good place, that fastball. Big league hitters can turn it around if you make mistakes with it.
Yeah, you just can't stand out there and heave it, that's for sure. Breaking ball, bounce to third. Deep at third, Laurie. Not in time. Hunter Pence will be satisfied with an infield hit. Didn't have any thoughts about trying to move into second.
Yeah, tough play for Brett Laurie. Rowe has to be just a little bit closer to the bag, and he would have made the play. Does a good job of backing up, setting that right foot, and then that's all arm strength right there across the infield. Edwin can't come up with it. If it's a little bit closer to him, he's okay. He makes that play. But Brett Laurie is showing his athleticism, number one, and his arm strength from the line at third base.
Yeah, that was a tough throw. Flat-footed. Couldn't get much moving into it. Brandon Belt, the first baseman. Hit that solo home run with 1 out in the 4th off R.A. Dickey. There goes Pence. He's not being held, and he'll advance to second base. You would believe that is defensive indifference in a 10-2 ball game. They scored at a stolen base, his 8th of the season. Now, why is that a stolen base?
I don't know, because Edwin Encarnacion is playing way behind him.
Infielders didn't move to cover.
They didn't make a throw. I bet you they changed that. I'm putting indifference down, not changing it.
Stand your ground, Tabby.
Stand my ground, because
you do that. I agree with you.
Not even holding them on.
I mean, if you're going to put that rule in place, then utilize it.
There it was. There was a perfect example of it right there.
2 outs, Brandon Belt with a runner in scoring position. Drives this ball toward left, and this is over the head of Bonifacio up against the wall. Pence comes in to score. Belt has his 2nd RBI of the night. His 7th double of the season. He now has driven in 20 for the Giants.
Yeah, in 20 RBIs. That's some production over there at first base. I've always liked that guy. He can pick it at first base. He's a big target. And the hitting now is starting to come around. You're starting to see a little bit more power. And he has taken that everyday job.
Gregor Blanco, the left fielder. A couple of strikeouts sandwiched around a single. He can't check and goes too far. Blanco took over in left field after Melky Cabrera was suspended last year, and he started 23 of the final 45 games for the Giants. He started all 16 games in left field during the postseason, and did a good job for San Francisco as they won the World Series.
Might have come up with the catch of the year last year in the Matt Cain game, saving a no-hitter, perfect game.
0-2. They got some interesting players. Guys that can move around, play different positions. Andres Torres came in defensively and made a nice running catch up against the wall in center. He stays alive. Gets a piece of that breaking ball. They got a youngster they just called up from AAA, Brett Pill, who's been wearing it out in the Coast League. He was going to get a chance to start tonight, and then Bruce Bochy decided to use Scudero in the DH spot. But Pill hit .341 in his time in Fresno, 32 games. Filled in 47 runs in 32 games. So the Giants just keep bringing them up to the big leagues. We talked about their farm system and how they have done a great job. Nick Noonan, Brandon Crawford, now Brett Pill, Brandon Belt, Buster Posey.
You know what they do? They don't miss on their #1 picks. Those pitchers. Baumgartner and Kane, Lincecum. You mentioned Posey was a first-round pick. Noonan was a sandwich pick 6 years ago.
Quite a battle going on here between Brad Lincoln and Gregor Blanco. 10-3 Blue Jays. They're in the 8th inning. First of a short 2-game series. The Giants will go from here to Colorado to take on the Rockies. That'll be a 4-game series. And they will play Thursday night. So they got a night game here on Wednesday and then a night game Thursday. First of 4 in Denver. Lincoln strikes out Blanco. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 10-3 Blue Jays. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. Coming away tomorrow on 1. The Amway Canadian Championship, the Montreal Impact versus the Vancouver Whitecaps, 7:30 Eastern on 1. The pitcher for the Giants will be the lefty, Jose Mijares. The Blue Jay fans will remember him from the Minnesota Twins. He has found a new home here. Came over from Kansas City to San Francisco last year, and now he's working out of Bullpen.
No record, a good ERA, but take a look at that batting average against. Righties hitting .450 against Mijares. Lefties .304. Last worked 4 days ago against Atlanta. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits. He's a high-velocity fastball guy. 4-seamer, about 94 miles an hour. New catcher for the San Francisco Giants as they get Buster Posey out of the ballgame. That's former Blue Jay Guillermo Quiros.
Quiros played 7 years in the Blue Jays system, got to the big leagues with the Jays. Munenori Kawasaki will have his first at bat of the night. Kawasaki entered the game as a pinch runner in the 6th. He took over for Adam Lind, who had a pinch hit RBI single. Kawasaki is late on that 93-mile-an-hour hitter.
Expect that. Expect the fastball from Miharis. Four-seamer. He's got a power breaking ball also. Effective versus righties and the lefties. And I think that people above the camera well on the third base side better heads up. With 2 strikes against Kawasaki, he's going to let that ball travel. He's been late against a good fastball all season long. So heads up over there.
Kawasaki did something you're not supposed to do.
Yep.
He went back to the on-deck circle, get some more of that stickum on his bat. Phil Cuzzy said, wait a minute, where are you going? I think Cuzzy thought initially that he may have broken his bat, but he just didn't like the grip he had, and he went back on deck. That used to be standard procedure. Hitters would go back to the on-deck circle, get the pine tar rag, get the rosin, and redress the bat handle. That's not allowed anymore.
Tried to speed up the game. You know, they actually want the batter to stay in that batter's box, stay on that dirt area. There's the stickum.
You know how you speed up the game?
Throw more strikes.
Call more strikes.
Call more strikes. There you go.
2-2. Brett Laurie better pay attention. He's standing on deck, and Kawasaki's been late on these fastballs, and he's fortunate that one was high up against the net. But Kawasaki's having a tough time getting around on Miharis.
Yeah. He would do him a favor, Miharis, if he threw him a breaking ball here.
He does him a favor, but it's right at the shortstop. Crawford throws to first. 1 down.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Brett Laurie he's had a good night to play a couple of hits. He's driven in a run. And again, he had another line drive that was right at the third baseman. Boy, he's inching up on 200.
Getting
it's
closer.
Been a slow, steady climb.
Yep. Don't even look at that scoreboard right now. Just work on your mechanics at the plate. This is a good pitcher, I think, for Laurie. He was telling me before the game, you know, timing is everything, and I want to make sure that I get it started. I got to get my front foot down, and that'll certainly help my swing. He's a great guy to work that.
Drives this one to right. Hunter Pence is not going to get it. Laurie slams it up against the wall and right. He'll coast into second with his 3rd hit of the night. Just his 2nd double of the season.
Both of them tonight. Doubled his last time up. And it's perfect for Laurie against a hard-throwing lefty because the breaking ball is going to come into you, but he throws hard, nice easy action, and he got that front foot down and scalded that ball to right field.
That is his 3rd double, of course, with 2 tonight, but Laurie really swinging the bat well. Certainly doesn't show up on his batting average just yet, but it will. 3 more hits tonight. Myceris Torres had a 1-out double back in the 5th. 18 hits for the Blue Jays, and obviously we talked about that. That's a new season high. On the ground, Noonan. It's a nice hop. He throws it first base to Belt, and Estouris is retired. Laurie moves from 2nd to 3rd. Kobe Rasmus will bat with 2 outs. Rasmus with 2 more hits tonight. Mijares wanted to know where that last pitch was, and Phil Cuzzy just kind of waved it was outside.
Yeah, he asked if it was down, as he said it was outside.
Fly ball into center field. Torres closes ground quickly. The inning is over. We'll go to the ninth. The Blue Jays have had a big breakout night. 6 in the first. They've scored 10 runs on 18 hits. Short 2-game series, and tomorrow night starters Ryan Vogel's song off to a tough start to his season of Ramon Ortiz after a good start his first time out. Ortiz with 5 good innings in Boston, 4 hits, 1 run, 5 walks when he struck out 1. He stranded 7 base runners in 5 innings of work, so he'll get to start in place of Brandon Monroe. Brad Lincoln, his second inning of work. It'll be 8-9-1 for the Giants. Nick Noonan, the second baseman, has the count in his favor, 2-0. Lincoln gave up a run on 2 hits in his first inning of work. He had a strikeout of Gregor Blanco to end the 8th inning. Brad Lincoln got a good fastball. He appeared in 2 games on the road trip, with a total of 2 1/3. He walked 3 in that road trip.
One of them was that walk-off walk, if you will, down in Tampa Bay. So I think it's a good thing that they sent him back out there for that second inning here tonight.
Hey, he had back-to-back walks in the 10th inning coming in relief, and Evan Longoria had a 2-out double, and then the intentional walk to James Loney. Lincoln came in the game, and he walked Ryan Roberts and Luke Scott. A walk-off walk. There's strike 3. Noonan is called up. 1 down. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osman. Number 9 hitters, the shortstop Brandon Crawford.
Jays pitchers throwing some K-balls up there tonight, aren't they? R.A. Dickey started it all with 10 strikeouts in his 6 innings. 2 for Brett Cecil and 2 more now for Brad Lincoln.
Big strikeout night. Generally, it's the Giants pitchers that are racking up the strikeouts. Bouncing ball foul. You notice that I've taken out my whiteout.
Yes, I have.
Go back into the 8th inning. And
let me guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
See? You should have listened to me.
Defensive indifference. Hunter Pence was given a stolen base, and I should have listened. 0-2, 1 out. Upstairs.
Got on the side of that one. There are all the Ks that I was just talking about. The backwards Ks. Those are strikeouts that are taken, not swung through.
R.A. Dickey racked up 10. Cecil had 2 in his 1 inning of work, and Brad Lincoln has a pair. Good start for R.A. He had a little bit of trouble in the second. Back-to-back walks. That led to the first Giant run.
That's clever right there, isn't it?
Creative. 2-2. Blue Jays will make it 3 wins in a row for a second time this year. And you mentioned it earlier. You just got to really focus on one game at a time. It'll be just their 16th win of the season.
Just laying in the weeds right now, Blue Jays. You know,
they're deep weeds.
Well, you don't want to make too much noise to wake anybody up, right?
Yeah, just kind of worry about your business and don't worry about the standings.
Let the spotlight be on some other team right now, and you just do your thing.
Strike 3. Crawford strikes out for a 4th time. That's 15 strikeouts the Giants have racked up tonight. They have punched out 15 times against the Blue Jays pitching.
Brandon Crawford not liking Rogers Center tonight.
Golden sombrero for Brandon Crawford. 4 strikeouts. Andres Torres came in the game defensively for Angel Pagan. He entered the game in the 7th. This is first at bat. Giants down to their final out. Tampa Bay is leading Boston 5-3. They're in the bottom of the 7th in St. Petersburg. Yankees and the Mariners are tied 3-3 in bottom of the 7th in New York.
Baltimore's losing, aren't they?
Baltimore is losing 3-2 at home against the Padres. They are in the bottom of the 9th. So you just got to whittle away at that deficit.
Yep.
Fans on their feet. Good crowd on hand. 31,753 in attendance. And the Blue Jays are about to knock off the reigning world champs. Full count. A season high 18 hits for the Jays. And Torres walks. That will delay the celebration. Marco Scudero's had another good night. 2 for 4. His 15th multi-hit game of the season. He extended his hit streak to 13 straight. Bounced foul. Brad Lincoln has now thrown 40 pitches in 2 innings of work. He has 3 strikeouts and a walk.
You know, that's okay, though. He's out there bound. He's a little tired. We stretched him out down in the minor leagues, so he can go deep. Still throwing hard. That's 94 right there.
Yeah, there's no reason for him not to be able to finish this up, but
yep.
You'd like to see him be a little more efficient.
That'll help the bullpen where you don't have to use another player just to get through 1 inning.
Two and 2. Ari Dickey in line for his 3rd win of the season. He drops his ERA under 5, stands at 4.83. Scudero has another hit. Broken bat inside the bag at first. Torres goes first to 3rd. Scudero another 3-hit night.
That's a magic wand that Marco Scudero wields up there. He could keep the ball between the 3rd base line and the 1st base line with the best of them. Good pitch from Lincoln. Just breaks his bat. All that's left is a handle, and he's got himself another hit.
3-hit night. He's raised his average to 315. Pete Walker giving Lincoln a little bit of a breather. Now the Blue Jays have to get their bullpen up, which is what they didn't want to do. Rogers customers can watch every Blue Jays game this season on Sportsnet live on your smartphone. Visit RogersAnyPlaceTV.com/sports to get started. So Pete Walker has delivered the quick message. It is 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Pablo Sandoval has flied out 4 times tonight. 0 for 4. Ball on the strike.
There you go. Good fastball. 95. That's his best fastball tonight, and he put it in a great place.
Ishmael Rogers is starting to loosen up, and you just hope he doesn't really crank it up 100%. There's a drive toward left field and hit a mile. Bonifacio will watch it sail out of the ballpark. Pablo Sandoval, a 3-run home run. His 7th of the season. 3 RBIs give him 29 on the season.
He just missed a couple of times. Excuse me, Buck. You were talking about him hitting 4 fly balls twice out of those 4. He just missed driving the ball out of the ballpark, I thought. Finally comes up with one, his 5th time up with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Fastball, not in a good place. It's up and away, and good hitters would have hit that one. He hits it hard the other way. Good RBI man.
Well, that bat flies through the zone, and he hits a towering home run over the wall in left center. So now John Gibbons is going to have to make a pitching change in his 10-6 ball game. And he's going to have to burn another reliever. Brad Lincoln, after 2 strikeouts to start the 9th, gives up a walk, a single, and a 3-run home run. Buster Posey is the batter. Oh, excuse me, Quiros is the batter. Posey's out of the game, so it'll be Esmil Rogers to Guillermo Quiros when we come back. Esmil Rogers makes his 19th appearance of the season, and it's unfortunate that he has to come into this game. You don't know what's up down the road, but he will try to close it out. 2 outs. Guillermo Quiros came into the ballgame defensively for Buster Posey. Quiros, a former Blue Jay, signed as a non-drafted free agent by the Blue Jays, spent 7 years in the Blue Jays system. Goes after it and drives it into right. Bautista is there. The game is over. Rogers comes in to close out the ball game. The Blue Jays offense got R.A. Dickey off to a fast start, scoring 6 runs on 6 hits in the first. Melky Cabrera with a 4-hit night. And R.A. Dickey picks up his 3rd win of the season.
So much better when you can jump out like that against a good pitcher like Barry Zito. You're up 6-0. And then you add on 4 more runs by the Blue Jays in the latter stages, and they needed all of them because the Giants, they don't go quietly. They're world champs.
So Melky Cabrera, happy to see the Giants back in town. We'll be right back here tomorrow night for the 2nd and final game of this series. Stay tuned. Connected coming right up. Thanks for watching.